What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel, where we're diving into a fascinating debate today. Could Deion Sanders be the next head coach for our Dallas Cowboys? With the season slipping away, and tensions running high after a brutal 3-5 start, former NFL coach and current ESPN analyst Rex Ryan has stirred the pot with his endorsement of Sanders as a potential replacement for Mike McCarthy. Ryan's got some strong points, and today, we'll dig into them to see if Coach Prime could indeed be the answer in Dallas. Before we get into it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated with all the Cowboys news. Now, let's break down what Rex had to say and whether bringing in Deion would be the right move for America's team. Rex Ryan made his case on ESPN's Get Up, pointing out how some of the most exciting teams in the league are led by former players with deep ties to their organizations. Ryan's logic. Just look at what the Detroit Lions did with Dan Campbell or the Texans with DeMeco Ryans, both former players who brought fresh energy and a sense of pride to their franchises. Ryan believes that same formula could work in Dallas with Sanders, saying, Deion Sanders may be in play here. They need something. They need someone who has the pride in that damn organization. Ryan's point is compelling. Sanders was a Cowboy from 1995 to 2000, winning Super Bowl 30 and leaving a lasting impression on fans and the city. For many Cowboys fans, Sanders isn't just a former player, he's an icon. Bringing in someone who genuinely understands the pride and legacy of this organization could be what this team needs to turn things around. So, what makes Deion Sanders a qualified candidate for this high-stakes position? Just look at what he's done with the Colorado Buffaloes. In just his second season as head coach, Sanders has led the Buffaloes to a 7-2 record and a top spot in the Big 12 standings. They're currently ranked in the top 25, with a shot at making the college football playoff, and Sanders has completely changed the culture around that program. His approach to coaching is intense, straightforward, and effective, three qualities Cowboys fans have been craving. Sanders doesn't just build players, he builds leaders. His work ethic, combined with his understanding of what it means to be a Cowboy, makes him an interesting candidate for the role. Imagine the kind of impact he could have on young talents like Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, who are both known for their competitive fire. One exciting, and maybe controversial, angle here is the possibility of a package deal with Deion's son, Shedeur Sanders, who's currently making waves as Colorado's quarterback. Shedeur has shown he's got the arm strength, poise, and accuracy to make it at the next level. If Deion came to Dallas, would he bring Shedeur with him? While this idea may seem far-fetched, let's not forget that Sanders has shown he's willing to make bold moves for his family and players. Bringing Shedeur to Dallas could create a dynamic father-son coaching and QB relationship that could shift the Cowboys' culture. For a franchise looking to re-establish itself, this kind of buzz could be exactly what Dallas needs to get back on track. On the other side of the debate, we have Micah Parsons' recent comments about head coach Mike McCarthy. Coming off a disappointing 34-6 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, Parsons voiced some frustrations over the team's current state and what the future might hold under McCarthy's leadership. When asked if he thought McCarthy would return next season, Parsons made it clear he's focused on the bigger picture, saying, "That's above my pay grade. Guys like Zach Martin, who might be on their last year, are the ones I feel bad for. Those are the guys I wanted to hold the trophy for." It's no secret that Parsons is one of the most competitive players in the league, and his comments highlight the team's lack of direction and urgency. Parsons' disappointment stems from a desire to win for the Cowboys' legendary veterans and hints that the team may need a new voice to inspire that next level of excellence. Rex Ryan took these comments seriously, calling out Parsons for piling on McCarthy, but he didn't disagree with the sentiment that changes could be needed. What if Deion Sanders is that voice? Bringing Coach Prime into Dallas would inject new life and enthusiasm, not only for the players but also for the fans. Sanders is a coach who isn't afraid to speak his mind, hold players accountable, and most importantly, bring a winning mentality. Its personal mantra could be just what this Cowboys squad needs to elevate their game. Moreover, Sanders has already shown that he's capable of handling the media spotlight, which is essential for the Cowboys head coach. He understands the pressure and expectations, and with his experience both as a player and a coach, he could handle the scrutiny of leading America's team with ease. Of course, bringing Deion Sanders to Dallas wouldn't be without its challenges. His coaching experience is still relatively limited, and the transition from college to the NFL is never easy. College players and NFL veterans are two different groups, and getting NFL players to buy into a college-style program could be tricky. Also, Jerry Jones is known for wanting control and influence over the team's direction. Sanders, who's used to having a lot of control in his programs, may want more say in personnel decisions than Jerry would be willing to give. This would be a relationship that would need clear boundaries and mutual respect to work. So, is Deion Sanders the answer for the Cowboys? There's no doubt he'd bring a new level of excitement, accountability, and pride back to this team. Cowboys fans have seen a lot of heartbreak and disappointment in recent years, and Coach Prime could be the guy to restore hope and build a winning culture. But with the Cowboys' future up in the air and critical decisions looming, it's going to be interesting to see if Jerry Jones is willing to take a chance on a coach like Sanders. As Cowboys Nation, we know that sometimes big risks lead to big rewards, and Deion Sanders could be the risk this franchise needs. Let's start with the facts. After suffering a hamstring injury, Prescott's recovery timeline is looking bleak, and sources say he's unlikely to return this season. The injury occurred in a tough Week 9 matchup against the Falcons, and Prescott's hamstring has left him considering surgery, a decision that could end his season for good. Right now, he hasn't been placed on injured reserve, but it's expected that the Cowboys will make that move soon. With Prescott sidelined, Dallas is left with Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, both of whom took snaps in Week 10's game. The results, unfortunately, weren't pretty, with the offense barely managing to get anything going. Prescott, who has led Dallas through thick and thin, could finish his 2024 season with a 3-5 record over 8 games. If that happens, it would be a bitterly disappointing outcome not just for Dak but for the entire organization and fan base. After starting the season with playoff aspirations, the Cowboys now face the reality of finishing the season without their franchise quarterback. And with Rush and Lance struggling to fill the void, what's next for Dallas? Cowboys fans, Week 10 was a hard game to watch. Cooper Rush stepped in as the starter, but it was clear the offense lacked rhythm and creativity without Prescott's leadership. In the end, Rush completed just 13 passes for a mere 45 yards before being replaced by Trey Lance late in the game. Although Lance managed to complete 4 of his 6 passes for 21 yards, he also threw an interception to safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, adding to an already challenging day. The offense as a whole was only able to produce 146 total yards, a stat that speaks volumes. Most of that came from the ground game, with Rico Dowdle leading with just 53 rushing yards. If we can't get more from the passing game, our opponents will continue to key in on the run, making it even harder to find any offensive momentum. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: turnovers. In Week 10, Dallas had a total of 5 turnovers, a stat that would make it difficult for any team to come away with a win. It wasn't just one player, either. Rush fumbled twice, Lance threw a late interception, and even Jake Ferguson and Ezekiel Elliott had fumbles of their own. When you can't hold on to the ball, it's almost impossible to stay competitive, let alone win games. By the end of the game, the frustration was palpable. Fans at AT&T Stadium had already started filing out early, and those who stayed voiced their disappointment with boos. Turnovers have been a thorn in the Cowboys' side all season. In Prescott's absence, these issues have only magnified, with both Rush and Lance struggling to make safe, effective plays. If the Cowboys want any hope of salvaging this season, the entire offense needs to address these mistakes, starting with ball security. This is a basic, yet essential, aspect of the game, and it's something that's been holding Dallas back. With Dak sidelined, the focus now shifts to Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. Rush has proven himself as a reliable backup in the past, but his performance in Week 10 left fans wondering if he can handle the responsibility long-term. Completing only 45 yards through the air is not going to cut it. And while Lance has a high ceiling, he's shown inconsistency, a factor that has kept him from stepping into a starting role up until now. The coaching staff has an interesting decision to make. Should they stick with the experience of Rush, or take a risk with Lance's raw talent? There's talk of using both quarterbacks in situational packages to take advantage of Lance's mobility while keeping Rush's steadier hand. Either way, the Cowboys have to figure out a solution quickly, especially with challenging opponents coming up in the schedule. So, where do the Cowboys go from here? With Prescott potentially done for the season, this injury throws a major wrench in the team's goals. This team came into 2024 with high hopes, and there was a lot of talk in the offseason about making a playoff run. Now, the season is hanging by a thread. The Cowboys will need to focus on finding any offensive spark they can muster. Whether it's leaning on Dowdle in the run game or trying to get creative with Lance, something has to change if Dallas is going to turn this around. At this point, Head coach Mike McCarthy and offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer have their work cut out for them. To say fans are frustrated would be an understatement. We've seen this team underperform in big moments, and now, with Dak Prescott potentially out for the season, some fans are losing hope. The Week 10 performance was a low point, and unless Dallas can figure out a way to move the ball and hold on to it, more games like that could be in the future. But Cowboys Nation is nothing if not loyal. This fanbase has seen its fair share of ups and downs, and they'll be watching closely to see how this coaching staff and roster respond. Dallas may be 3-5, but the season isn't over. There's still a lot of pride at stake, and there's no question that fans are eager to see if this team can bounce back. The big question on everyone's mind: what needs to change? For starters, Dallas needs to protect the football. The turnover problem has cost this team more than just points. It's cost them momentum and confidence. This is something McCarthy has to emphasize, especially with inexperienced quarterbacks at the helm. Beyond that, the offensive line needs to step up. The line struggled to give Rush and Lance the time they needed to make plays, and with a backup quarterback under center, protection becomes even more critical. Lastly, Dallas needs to find some identity on offense. Whether it's committing more to the run game or finding creative ways to utilize Lance's dual-threat capabilities, this team needs a game plan it can execute confidently. So, here's where I want to hear from you, Cowboys fans. Do you think Deion Sanders could be the coach to turn things around in Dallas? Would his energy and pride for the organization be enough to get us back to being a playoff-caliber team? Or do you think we should stick with a more experienced coach at the NFL level? Let's keep this conversation going in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'll be keeping an eye on any developments and will bring you updates as they come. Thanks for watching, Cowboys Nation, and let's keep that pride strong.